Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming into another video. All right, so I feel pretty good, man. I've been sitting in this bed. You know how it goes when you're dealing with your anxiety or whatever it is. For those of you who follow me enough, you probably know I'm been dealing with it pretty hefty. Created some circumstances for myself by way of my own inactivity outside of this house. That made it so that my financial situation is dire and my living situation is screwed. So I'm facing eviction. We're in between finding out when the court date will be for my eviction. So we're in that little limbo space where you know the worst is coming, but you have time and you don't know exactly how much time it is. But it's been 2 weeks. They told you it'd be a month, so you think you probably have somewhere around another 10 to 14 days of this space before you know your fate in regards to how long you have before you have to leave this place, how much you have to fork over right away, if I'll be forced to, whatever, I will know. But right now there's no knowing. And I also don't have any counsel as of right now because I'm still waiting on the people I contacted to get back to me in regards to the information I forward them in regards to myself. So just kind of sitting here. My fridge is broken. As I told you guys, it broke a couple days ago. So just like it was when my mom first passed away and I moved into her apartment. Wasn't I just talking about this on a therapy session less than a week ago? My fridge was working when I said this. A week later, I would be back in that circumstance. But now I'm in that same circumstance where I can't refrigerate anything. But I had a funny thing happen. Last time I bought groceries, the guy, I don't know if I accidentally ordered 2 sets of 10, so 20 apples were delivered to my house by accident the last time I ordered groceries. So that's kind of what I've been eating in between big meals. A big meal would be oatmeal and all the little stuff that I do with the oatmeal. I make oatmeal delicious as hell at this point. I mastered my oatmeal. So I got big bowls of oatmeal that I eat. And then I bought myself some peanut butter and I got the apples that are still in that hot ass box that haven't died yet. I had to throw away the rice that I just made before I got even a single scoop out of it. Because what had happened was the most unlucky thing possible. I made a hot, real piping big, huge bag of rice. The gallon bags, huge bit of rice. And my refrigerator had broken that morning. So I put the hot rice in the fridge and it zapped away the little left of the cold that was in there. So now we had a situation where any little bit of cold that was in the fridge was now just completely shot. So everything that was in the fridge that had to be perishable had to be thrown away. The rice included, gone. I was able to keep my apples, but I had to throw away carrots, stuff like that. So my fridge is now warm as the room right as we speak. I've already ordered another one. I think I told you guys I found another one for under $50. Really, really fortuitous. Free shipping. Absolutely a deal. But I don't know if the company's credible, so it's kind of a toss in the dark to see if it'll actually work out. But whatever the case may be, I've been living off of apples and peanut butter and oatmeal for the last 3 days. And in a very, very fortuitous thing, my body's reacting well to it. And you guys know, I've been telling you guys I've been having issues with my diet and, kind of having struggles with just about everything I try to digest. Well, since this has happened, I haven't had any of those issues. I guess the chicken was the problem. Maybe the rice was the problem. Maybe the seasoning was the problem. But whatever the problem is no longer a problem. I also told you guys that I thought that my freezer might have been the cause for what those issues could be, because I'm ignorant and I have no idea what's causing some of my stomach issues. But I think that the correlation is that everything goes in that freezer was giving me trouble. Now, if there's a correlation to that because of how I cook what goes in the freezer, that too could be a thing. But nevertheless, the freezer is now going to be gone. So if it was causing problems, the Lord removed that from my life without me actually initiating it. So that's a little bit of what I'm going through right now. I once again have to live in a very humble way until my fridge gets here, and we'll figure out when that happens because they didn't tell me. They said that they will notify me when they're delivering it, which is also a red flag that it's shaky, buddy. But it was $45. So you buy a $200 fridge for $45, you're gonna have to deal with whatever comes with that. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so I'm going to continue that process. I got the apples, I got the peanut butter, and I got plenty of bananas. And so we will eat humbly. It wouldn't be the first time I've had to do stuff like this, you know. It ain't. I'd love to be able to tell you that I've never lived poor before in my life and I've always had it, but that's not the position the Lord placed me in this life. It's just not me. I was thinking about some things also, you know, just segueing away from that this morning. I was sitting in the shower, and as I always do, I was trying to get my spirit right, praying. And this morning I didn't really, you know, say all the prayers that I wanted to say because I was too busy thinking about just how I found myself in a space where I need to do certain things and I'm once again failing to do them. However, whatever. You know, in this case, the latest thing has been, since I have all this going on with the eviction, I have to sort out all that has to be prepared for in regards to having to move without finances, without, credit, because my credit is shot, without any idea as to how you're going to live in the environment you're from, because out here nothing's cheaper than anything I have than this apartment. Nothing in this state is probably cheaper than this apartment. So it's just a lot of things that are going to be uprooted. My whole life is almost destined to be uprooted within the next month or 3 months or whatever it would be. Nothing will probably keep that from happening. And the thing is, I'm no closer to being prepared for that than I was 2 weeks ago, and that's helped me understand just how far in the dumps my mental health has gotten. To be aware of your situation, but to still operate as if you're in denial of your situation while being anxious about not only the situation, but you feeling or operating in some type of denial that you happen to be aware of. That is something that I've been plagued with my entire life. It makes no sense for a person to operate in a way where they are aware of what they're doing and can't stop themselves, you know what I mean, but are conscious enough to be able to articulate that. I've never heard, seen, or met anyone like me in my entire life. And that's why I think it's so important. That's why I think I'm the right person to do something like this, which is unprecedented. Getting on the internet and having therapy sessions with yourself. I think I'm the right brain for it for a multitude of reasons. But none more than the fact that I've just never met anyone like myself, man. People who do the things that I do, they're not aware of it. The people who find themselves in these circumstances, they don't desire to change if they are aware of what they're doing. They're happy because they're doing it. And it is what they want to do. And I'm telling you that I've always lived in a space where I've worked against my own self. And I've never known how not to. Never known how to initiate my own success as it pertains to preventing certain stresses, you know. I welcome certain big stresses to, you know, in place of certain small, minor inconveniences in the moment. And as I've conditioned myself for that for 38 years, I find myself not being able to turn it off when I need to the most. Once again, this happened many times in my life as a child, but to never get help for it, was always a thing. And so now that we're in a space where getting help is probably my best move based on the circumstances at hand, I'm still having trouble doing anything, not just going back to work or school, but anything that breaks me out of what it is that makes me feel comfortable. And that comfort ain't really comfortable because I sit here in this space and dread being ripped away from it the majority of the time that I'm in it. And so it's like, would it not be easier to just do whatever it is that I'm trying to keep from doing? The answer is, of course. And so why have I yet not to do it? There is no answer to that. And that has been the plague and the bane of my existence for the whole time I've been on this earth. For whatever reason, that part doesn't work. And if it does work, I can't seem to make it work. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. You know, maybe there's another way, but I have yet to figure it out. And so I was having a conversation with my buddy just now. He called me up and kind of snapped me out of my mindset that I was in, which I wasn't in a bad mindset, but I wasn't being productive, and I knew I needed to be. And so I was just kind of sitting here looking at stuff online. He gave me a call and he was telling me how his day was going, what's up and all that, saying he might be in the area a little later, something like that. So, you know, he was telling me that he, you know, as we were getting into a conversation about how I'm up to, what I'm up to, I was telling him like the truth. Like I'm having a hard time becoming doing the things that have to be done. And I'm in a realization that I'm dealing with a mental health concern, and that is, it's always been a mental health concern, but I think it's more so out of control today in this last couple weeks since I've gotten all the information in regards to my eviction. Since that has happened, I've had a very, very difficult time taking the steps necessary to address the eviction. Not as it pertains to the things that I'm forced to do, because I did all of those things, but anything that I wasn't forced to do in regards to this has been a complete and utter failure, with the exception of calling the company to get legal support, or rather returning their call. They called me, I returned their call after initiating an email to them by way of the court itself. So I've been doing literally nothing to help myself, and I'm not confused about whether or not I want to fix my problems, whether or not I need to do certain things, whether or not the help that I'm, after is meant for me. And that was another thing I was thinking about in the shower. I was coming to a realization that I perceived something a certain way. That even though there's psychological support out there that I'm vaguely aware of, that I'm not actually a person that's supposed to have it. I didn't realize that I viewed it that way until I was in that shower thinking about all the different things that kept me from getting it, why I hadn't gone through with getting some psychological help. And it really came down to me just believing in some warped way that the help is out there for everybody but me. That I'm the person that needs to find a way to work through his own anxieties without the support that's available to others. And I think I psyched myself into believing that by listening to anyone who ever told me that they didn't think anything was wrong with me. Not to single out any names or anybody, because that's just not my intention. But anytime I ever heard somebody say, why don't you just, in regards to certain things that I was telling them I couldn't bring myself to do, they made me think that help was something that I wasn't due for. Because if I could do what it is that they're saying, why can't I just? Then obviously I wouldn't necessarily be applicable for help that would initiate me being able to, because I wasn't actually unable to in their eyes. And because I couldn't figure out myself at all, I didn't know. I didn't trust me, because me was telling me to do stuff that didn't help me, so I just listened to them. You know what I mean? So it's like, why don't you just go down the street? I don't know. Well, don't you think you should do that? Absolutely. You can do that, You're right. All right. I know what you can do. Go out there and do it. And so maybe once in a while I would be able to do it. See, I knew you could do it. Thanks. But like all them other times, I really can't. and it's not because I don't want to, or it's not because I don't believe in myself, or because I don't see the fruit in doing it. And I had so many different conversations that provided me wisdom as to why I needed to do things. That's why I think I have such wisdom in my heart right now, because I've listened to it all. I had to listen to it all because I couldn't fix myself through my own choices. So I was the person that absorbed the wisdom. You need to not do this. You need to do this. You need to pay attention to that. High frequency this. I was listening to all of that because I had to override my own self just by nature. So I couldn't afford to fall into different things I would otherwise fall into, because if I did, basically nothing. So I always challenge myself to override my own thoughts, to challenge myself to desire different wants, to almost split my own synopsis in half, so to speak, as a person who wants certain things versus a person who's doing other things. And it's like, I don't have split personalities. I don't perceive myself as more than one human. But the war is with self, at all times, and I don't know how that works. So when I listen to other people as a child, definitely not knowing how that worked at 20 and 19, 15, I would listen to them just basically tell me that, see how easy it is for me? I could do it, you could do it too. And it's like, yeah, you're right. And then whatever anxieties I face would just have to be faced in order to prove them right, or I would just fall into a depression knowing whatever I felt was true to me and I couldn't do what they wanted me to do, and then listen and see the frustration on their faces or whatever when I wouldn't live up to very basic self-help paths, when I wouldn't walk down those paths that help my damn self. So after years and years of going through this, different seasons of this, school, work, it's just gotten to a point where I'm 38, almost 39 years old, and I'm not confused about what I need to do. I'm not confused about the courage in my heart because I've already accomplished certain things, I've done certain things. So I know what I'm capable. I'm not confused about why I did this, why I started this. But what I think happened is I think I did some damage to myself while doing this. The sacrifice of wanting to hold these shares above all else and staying in that job situation when I knew I should have been getting my mental health sorted out. When I knew I was in a very bad emotional place, I retreated back to this house and then left myself even more chances to be weak. Not getting help, not getting work, not staying in that flow of working, letting my car situation develop anxiety within me, letting my apartment situation develop a denial within me, letting my cell phone situation develop some type of weird anxiousness as well that ended up becoming a little bit more than necessary. And just all these different things to sacrifice in regards to, in regards to trying to keep these shares, balancing that with my need to be alone, balancing that with my desire to be isolated because I didn't feel like I was productive. Couple that with the insecurity that came with my physical appearance all those years, not being comfortable with my skin and being perceived as somebody made fun of and not desirable by women. A lot of different things that just catered to the overall damage of my current mental space. Things that I told myself I just had to live without, like mental health and a family, because I needed to keep away from certain stresses that came with walking into situations that would provide me both, rejection energy that I would try to avoid at all costs, that would allow me no opportunities to have a family, anxiety issues that would not allow me to capitalize on various talents that I believe I have, not wanting to deal with the backlash of whatever would come my way. So staying dormant and staying stagnant and not moving and not having nobody to help me. That's another thing. It was like, when you allow yourself to be alone, you grew up in a single parent household, your mom passed away of cancer. The household we were in, we didn't really have a lot of people over. It wasn't like we had a constant flow of people coming in and out of the house to make it normal. It wasn't. We kind of lived in a little apartment about as big as the one I'm in for the first 16 years of my life. And because it was so small, we didn't really have a lot of people over. So it was not a whole lot of normalcy as it pertains to the household. There wasn't no two-parent households, just me and my mom in one room. And so that did something to my brain too. I think it made it so that I was a bit more dependent on her. That kind of thing. It just made it that was not as healthy as it needed to be growing up. For me to be able to stretch my wings as a young adolescent. We didn't get out of that until I was well after the age that I should have been. So that affected me, I think, in a way that gave me some norms that probably don't align with what they should be as a man my age at this point. And so I've just been in this space where I've been looking and saying, okay, well, I've never been unhappy with any of my stuff. I never looked at my life and been unhappy about any of that. And, since it's starting now, I've been pretty pleased. The only thing I ain't pleased about is the fact that I keep getting uprooted from my comfort zones every time I get to a point where I feel like I'm finally doing what I want to do, whether I'm being productive or not. I get uprooted like right then, and that those eras is when it all finally goes to hell for me. When I'm struggling and I'm depressed, I always have a place to stay, whether I'm working for it or not. But when I finally start learning how to love myself, that's when the consequences of hating myself always come back to bite me. So it's just a mental health thing, man. As I was telling my boy T, it ain't deeper than just a malfunctioning of what it is that ultimately makes me go. Whatever it is that inspires me to move doesn't work properly. It just don't. It never has, man. And so I'm ready to admit that. I don't hate myself for that. And I'm not confused by that. I'm not lacking in wisdom. I'm not lacking in the ability to be a breadwinner or none of that stuff. All that confusing stuff that compounded my agony as a young person is gone. That's the difference. Now I just look at it as a mental health concern. It ain't attached to my point of view, my ability, my willingness. I'm not confused about any of those things for the first time in my life. You know what I mean? That's the difference. There was a lot of confusion pointed in different directions about how I viewed my own character because of this way of living, because of this way of thinking, how I viewed my own spirit, what I was capable of, how I could lead or not lead, whether or not I would be a good father, husband. All of those things were a no for me in my mind because the confusion of this not necessarily being a mental health issue, but more so just a character issue, and me just somehow not choosing to do things that make my life easier because of something that just isn't actually in my head. So, yeah, I'm crazy, man. What can I say? Some of us were born with a sound mind and body and all of that. Others were born at disadvantage. And I look at myself and I say, I got a disadvantage, man. For all of my different strengths, there's a strong weakness that you may not have that allow you, when you're in situations to just do. You're not thinking about people. Like, you probably feel strange if you don't have people in your life. You know what I mean? Some people are afraid to be alone. I'm afraid to not be. You understand? Like, I'm literally afraid to not be alone when I don't want people around. You know what I mean? When I do want people around, it's rare. It's rare because I didn't grow up around people. It's not that I didn't like people. It's just that my experiences with people really did come far and in between in my life. That was what I've come to understand as well. It's like, I just come from a different space where most people didn't. Most people don't come from where I come from in the ways that I did. You would have been used to certain things just by way of your lifestyle that I never had incorporated into my life. Like having a sibling in your household. You never had no siblings. Having a dad in your household. A man living in the house? Yeah, right. Like, these are things that are super foreign to me. I ain't never lived with a man in my life. Like, literally. So these type of things that are supposed to be so normal, I listen to people tell me that those things are normal. You gotta have 2-parent household to make it. Yeah, I know that. I hear you and I believe you, but I ain't come from that. That ain't what I'm used to. And if my dad tried to spend the night in my house, I'm looking at him funny. Like, that's how it was as I was a child. He stopped spending the night at our house when I was 3. What the hell you doing here? Go back home, bro. Like, that's literally how it would have been. And so, like, people got to understand. No, people don't. I need to understand. It's about me perceiving myself properly. That some of the ways that I perceive myself and why I was doing certain things is just because I never actually sat down and looked at my situation at all. Not as it pertains to how I needed to look at it to understand why I made certain choices. I was looking at myself from a different perspective in terms of conflict, but not necessarily as a means of understanding. I didn't understand or surmise or understand or behold what it is that I was, how I was, why I was. I was just reacting. This is giving me an opportunity to behold. Thinking about my mother and where she's from. Another thing I was thinking about in my shower was my different ancestors, my grandfather, and the differences in the people that I was aware of, who they were, and what makes up who I am. Characteristics from my dad's dad, my mom's dad, my mom's grandfather on her mom's side, like that kind of stuff. And I start thinking about certain characteristics. Okay, so that's why I might have this and that. You know what I mean? Just like most people do when they're aware of where they come from. I was doing a lot of that today, and just understand, like, I have a much more deeper understanding that mental health, issues are prevalent on my dad's side, much more than I was when I was growing up. Now I'm aware of it, more so because I have relationships with some of my family members. They've helped me understand that I'm not alone with some of my mental health stuff, that they too have gone through it, and getting to know some of those folks. Now I have a better understanding of some of them too have struggles with their head. So it's like, oh, that's hereditary for me, man. Since I was so close to my mom, none of her people had no mental health issues. None of them. Not on my mom's side or my mom's dad's side. So when not assessing my father's side and seeing my own mental health issues, my mom didn't really know what to do with me because she didn't have nobody in her life that had no problems like that. And that's on my pop's side. So it's like I'm starting to understand certain things just in general. It's like, oh, okay, man. All right. So maybe there is help for me. Maybe I'm not in a space where things have to be as confusing about myself as they need to be. I can just take a look at certain things that I haven't been taking a look at and start to have a little more understanding. And then from that understanding, I can start giving myself a bit more of what I need rather than what it is that I don't. And so it was just about coming to certain conclusions that I just wish somebody would have set me down to help me understand ahead of time. It would have helped me look at myself a way that allowed me to do certain things that my anxiety wouldn't let me. But that wasn't the path, man. I had to do it this way. So that's where we're at, man. I'm nowhere near in the space where I want to get the help that I absolutely want for myself. Does that make any sense? No. And that's why I'm certain I'm sick. The question is, how do I stop being sick? How do I do what it is within my control so people can look at me and say, you did your part? You know what I mean? How do I get that done? This, with this camera, is the best way I've known how to do that up until this point. Because anything else otherwise is just me walking into spaces that I don't want to walk into, which is a byproduct of the pain, the anger, whatever it is itself. That's it. Walking into it is the thing. Not wanting to do that is the problem. So it's like my wants don't work. All that wisdom that I always tell you about in the camera applies to this, those wants that want to be comfortable and all that don't help me. It's basically going to coerce me into spaces to be a loser in what it is that I'm trying to win at, which is life, And at 39 years, I want to get the hell out of this apartment and want to, and not have it contingent on whether or not I'm a freaking millionaire. And that's the difference between now and when I started this process. I'm in a space where I've rocked myself into a nonsensical ultimatum. Either I'm going to be absolutely wealthy or I'm never leaving this apartment again. It's like you can't live that way, obviously, but even more so, the thing that made you choose that needs to be addressed. And that's exactly where I'm at. No more getting mad at myself for not wanting to go to work. I never ever want to go back to work again. Period. And I got good reasons and terrible ones just alike for that. Both. And at the end of the day, that I choose to not work is a problem. It's a product of my mental illness, not a product of my desire to not earn a living, obviously. But I don't know if that's obvious at all. So I say it. I don't give myself passes just the same, even though I want to be, cognizant of being gentle to oneself. I also want to be cognizant of the fruit and holding oneself accountable, which is why I think I need to do things within this. Maybe not necessarily the things that you would tell me I need to do, but definitely something that would address needing help. And so these are the things that I'm holding myself to do. And I think having a conversation with my buddy T kind of helped me turn on the camera here, which I hope will help me turn the page in regards to that. So that's what my hope was, man. I don't think I had anything else I wanted to share. I just wanted to kind of express that, let everybody know that I'm failing miserably at taking the first step at helping myself mentally. And as a result, I'm failing with the clock running out in regards to my living situation. It's dangerous, it's scary, it's ridiculous, it's unnecessary, and it's mental health, man. And I want people to know that it's real. And if, like I said in the previous video, talking like this, if you don't have these problems, jump out there and do what you need to do. If for no other reason than know it because somebody else has a problem like this and perceives themselves as someone who cannot, perceives himself. Because I don't believe I cannot. I just know that I struggle, and as I struggle, I don't choose. And that's a malfunction of myself. So if you don't have that problem, which I think a good 99.9% of the humans in this earth don't, I think y'all need to go out there and do what it is that you need to do to utilize your time properly, because this has robbed me of the ability to appreciate my past time. I've wasted time trying to protect myself from these things, these anxieties, trying to keep myself comfortable in these anxieties, choosing temporary comfort over long-term stability. It's something that I've chosen out of sheer sickness, I believe, weakness of the mind, if it makes me feel better to say that instead of sickness. Just sheer weakness. And that's not weakness I want to see in anyone else. I don't throw these videos on for any other reason to defeat this energy. You know what I mean? Like literally defeat it. Give someone a case study from within myself so that somebody else who has what I have doesn't waste 38 years of their lives not knowing what the hell's going on with themselves. So that's what it is, man. That's what I weigh it against. The ability to contribute in this way is going to make up for anything else that I cannot do for myself. The other things that I'm telling myself I can't do for myself. Things that I've struggled with all my life. Simple things that needed to be done, that I saw the fruit in being done, that people shamed me into knowing needed to be done, shamed me for not doing. Those are the same things that I just can't bring myself to do, no matter how much shame comes my way, no matter how much I need them or how much it'll save my life to do them. You know what I'm saying? So be there in the lives of the people you love, man. That's what I tell you. If you can be there, man. And understand that, may I be the last person who has these mental health issues that you look at and say, you expect for them to present themselves a certain way. Let that go, man. Let that go. I could have very easily been born to a rich person, very easily been born to a person who could have put me in an Ivy school and have the ability to articulate myself probably all the way up to the Oval, to be completely honest with you. All the way up to the Oval. I don't think that if I wasn't groomed properly, the way that I speak, you could throw me up there, put me in front of a teleprompter, and I could be your president. I'm certain of it. Certain of it. But what I'm telling you is, I wouldn't even approach anything like that because of my mental health. Or what I'm also saying is I could hide and pretend like I'm sane and you would believe me if I really wanted you to. You would believe me. I could hide all of this, force myself to be in the same place every day, do what I need to do, pretend all the way through. I could literally do that, especially if it's enough on the line for me to do it. That would be enough motivation for me to cap all the way through life. But the thing about it is I don't have those circumstances, so there's no cap to be had. It's all reality, it's all real, and it's all the circumstance I have here for you. That's what I appreciate. The Lord didn't put me in a position to be anywhere else, just alone in this space, so that I had nothing to influence me otherwise, nothing to disarm me from displaying exactly what's there. And that's a good thing, because that's exactly what I want the world to see. I don't want to be loved for something I'm not. I don't want to be misunderstood based on my image and the image of people who looked like me prior to my existence. You know what I'm saying? Or the cultures that are attached to the skin with respect to it. I ain't part of none of that. Because in my life, I stayed away from all of that because I was dealing with this. Very simply put. So for me now, it's like I definitely know I ain't that. It took me a long time to know what I definitely am not. But I'm definitely not any of that. But I am this, and this is different. This is something entirely different. And I got a lot of strengths too in regards to what it is I am. You know, some of them that'll help with the culture itself. Honestly. That'll help contribute to the culture in some major ways. So with me, with the inner belief in my talent, the inner belief in my ability to build forth through talent, not just talent, but pour time into the craft of building these talents into their greatest heights. You know, there's no lacking in belief that I'm telling you what I can, that I can do what it is that I'm saying I can do. If I were to get my head on straight and be able to make good choices based on no anxiety in my head, then the rest is just me learning what needs to be learned and applying what's already there to make me my best self, man. And I know I'm intelligent enough to figure out what I don't know. If I say something stupid, it's because I haven't done the homework. It ain't because I can't learn the material. And that's what I've come to understand. Or be cocky enough is to believe that it ain't too much I can't learn or master if you give me enough time and the rhythm to do it. May take time, may take a lot more time, but you give me 100 years, I could be whatever I want. I could be a brain surgeon, anything. I could be it all. My brain can do all of it. But what it can't do is get out of its own way. And I feel like, in my own way, I almost feel like I'm cursed. That's the best way I know how to describe it without involving any mental health stuff. If you just want to remove the word mental health, if we didn't know nothing about mental health and this was like 1663, I would say I was possessed or bound by some type of spirit that would not allow me to help myself, if not for the position that I'm in, to just do what it is I got to do here. If that makes any sense. It's like something's binding me so that I can't move out of this position no matter how much I see good outside of this position. You're meant to be here, you're going to be here, and that you're here is meant to be. It's that kind of thing, man. That's what it feels like in my head when I try to make decisions that go into stressful spaces. It's a matter of fact. Like, I know what could happen, but that was never an option in the first place. What, you're going to walk through a wall? There's no door there. That's how that is for me. There's no door there. What y'all want me to do? Whatever it is you're telling me to do, picture a wall being in between me and it. That's how it feels. Even when it makes sense. What am I going to do? It's a wall there. That's how it feels. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.